You to be seated at the available chairs because in a few minutes the ceremony will proceed in no time. Para hadirin yang saya hormati, kami persilakan untuk memasuki ruangan dan menempati kursi yang telah disediakan karena acara akan kita mulai sesaat lagi.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Director and Vice Directors of UNIS Graduate School, the Honorable all top management, invited speakers, distinguished guests, and all participants. Welcome to the 4th International Seminar on Educational Technology.
Ladies and gentlemen, singing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya, all rise. Thank you. You may return to your seat. To welcome all distinguished guests and participants, we would like to welcome Dr. Diah Rini Indrianti as the chair of the committee. Dr. Rini Diah Indrianti, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and selamat pagi. The Honorable Rector of Universitas Semarang, represented by Prof. Dr. Toto Sumaryanto, the Vice Rector Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Director and Vice Director Graduate School of Universitas Negeri Semarang, Dean Faculties in Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Vice Dean of Academic Affairs, the distinguished guests, speaker, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my warm welcome to participants to the International Conference on Science, Education and Technology 2018 in Semarang. Semarang is the capital of Central Java, well known as Lumpia City. This conference, organized by Graduate School of UNES, this is the first meeting. The theme of the meeting is Global Collaboration to Improve the Acceleration of Education in Disruption Era. This theme encourages the scholar and academician to collaborate in a global scope, accelerate the education in Indonesia. Within the context of this disruption era, therefore, this international conference is provided us a global platform to discuss and to exchange the cutting-edge knowledge around the globe. Our distinguished speakers are invited to accommodate us to achieve this goal. First, Professor Fahrul Zaman Guyop, PhD, from the Department of Biology Science, Faculty of Science, University Teknologi, Malaysia. Thank you, Prof. Fahrul. Welcome to Indonesia. He would discuss about the bacteria that is able to do pollutant degradation. The second speaker is Dr. Kutida Nugultam. She is from Faculty of Education and Development Science, Kasapsat University, Thailand. Thank you, Dr. Kutida. She would discuss about the advantage of information and communication technology in science education. The third, Dr. Paul Thomas from School of Language, Literature, Culture and Linguistics, Monash University, Australia. Thank you, Dr. Paul. He would discuss about the soft power and culture choice in education, a case study of Indonesia in Australia. And the fourth, Dr. Herianto, but unfortunately now is rector-elected, so he cannot attend this meeting, represented by Bapak Doro Jatun Prihandono, PhD. He is from Department of Management, Faculty of Economic, Universitas Negeri Semarang. Thank you, Pak Doro Jatun. We would like to discuss about the unrivaled entrepreneurial mindset in Indonesian higher education institution. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a number of participants attended this morning are more than 1,000 people. There are 140 people will be present after plenary session, most of them from graduate students of UNES. Other participants also came from Universitas Negeri Semarang, Universitas Diponegoro, UIN Solo Wali Songo, STKIP Kalimantan Barat, IAIN Surakarta, Universitas Muria Kudus, Universitas 11 Maret, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia Bandung, Universitas UNJ Jogja, and Universitas Tunas Pembangunan Solo. Thank you very much for your participation. Through this conference, we really expect that there will be a great benefit for all of us. In this opportunity, I would like to thank you for your participation. First, Rektor Universitas Negeri Semarang, the Director Graduate School who have facilitated this conference, all speakers who has came from a long way to share their knowledge and experience with all of us. Your contribution is greatly appreciated and hopefully will accelerate the global collaboration. Last but not least, to all organizing committee who have been working very hard and to make this conference successful event. I, on behalf of this organizing committee, would like to apologize to all participants for inconvenience during the preparation and commencement of this meeting. To all speakers, during your short stay in Semarang, please enjoy the conference and enjoy sightseeing around Semarang. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now an honor for me to invite the Vice Director of UNES Graduate School to give us the welcoming speech and to officially open our seminar. For Professor Dr. Toto Sumaryanto, the floor is yours.
Good morning, the honorable keynote speakers, Professor Dr. Fahrul Hiob from UTM Malaysia, Dr. Paul Thomas from Monash University, Dr. Kultida Nurgudam from Kaset Sats University, Thailand, and Mr. Doro Jatun, PhD from Universitas Negeri Semarang. The Honorable, all of the deans, all their representatives in Universitas Negeri Semarang, and the Honorable all of the invite audience and participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. First of all, let's pray and thanks unto our God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has been giving us some mercies and blessings so we can attend and gather in this place in good condition and happy situation. However, I would apologize that Professor Dr. Faturuman MHU, Director of Universitas Negeri Semarang, and Professor Dr. H. Ahmad Slamet MSI, the Director of Graduate School Universitas Negeri Semarang, are not able to attend this special occasion this morning due to another agenda. I feel honored to be here to address such respectable audience from who are eager to attend this conference. I would like to say thank you and welcome for all the participants in the International Conference on Science, Education and Technology 2018. In this very special occasion, I also would like to thank the 5 distinguished keynote speakers who will share their insightful scientific findings according to their fields of expertise in the International Conference on Science, Education and Technology 2018. The International Conference on Science, Education and Technology 2018 is an international conference indexed by the Web of Science and held to Graduate School of Universitas Negeri Semarang, which aims to bring together leading researchers, scholars, and teachers, lecturers, students to exchange and discuss their most current findings of their research, the most recent innovation, trends, concerns, and practical strategies in the field of science, education, and technology. Finally, I would like to appreciate the work of the committee. I hope the conference can run well and provide state-of-the-art scientific insight for all of the participants. And hereby I would like to officially open this conference. That is all from me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Toto Sumaryanto, to officially open the seminar. The next agenda is praying. Allow me to invite Mr. Moh Mukti Esos to lead the prayer. Please, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan syakirin, hamdan na'imin, hamdan yuafi ni'amah wa yukafi majidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karimi wa 'azimi sultan. Allahumma shalli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad salatan tunjina biha min jami'il ahwali wal afat wa taqdi lana biha jami'al hajat wa tutahhiruna biha min jami'is sayyi'at wa tarfa'una biha 'indaka 'ala darajat wa tuballighuna biha aqsal ghayat min jami'il khairati fil hayati wa ba'dal maut. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, atas berkat rahmat dan ridha-Mu pada hari ini kami menyelenggarakan seminar internasional berbasis pendidikan dan teknologi ISET, dan dengan kodrat iradat-Mu semoga acara ini berjalan lancar penuh keberkahan. Allahumma ighfir lana dzunubana wa li walidina wa li masyayikhina wa li muallimina wa li huquqil wajibati alaina. Ya Allah yang Maha Pengampun, ampunilah kami, kedua orang tua kami, pemimpin dan pendahulu kami, serta guru-guru kami atas segala dosa dan kesalahan kami. Rabbana dhalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'an wa rizqan wasi'an mubarakan wa متقبلا ونعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع وقلب لا يخشع وأمل لا يرفع ودعاء لا يسمع. Ya Allah yang Maha Pemurah, limpahkanlah kepada kami ilmu yang bermanfaat, rezeki yang banyak dan berkah, hati yang lapang, serta amalan yang terkabul. Allahumma arinal haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arinal batila batila warzuqna tinabah. Ya Allah, tunjukkanlah kepada kami bahwa yang benar itu benar, dan berilah kepada kami kemampuan untuk mengikutinya, serta tunjukkanlah kepada kami bahwa yang salah itu salah, dan berilah kekuatan untuk menjauhinya. Allahumma ja'alna wa ja'al auladana wa dzurriyyatina min ahlil ilmi wa min ahlil khair wa la taj'alna wa iyyahum min ahlil dhuhur innaka ala kulli syai'in qadir. Ya Allah, jadikanlah kami dan anak keturunan kami termasuk golongan orang-orang ahli ilmu dan golongan orang-orang baik, dan janganlah Engkau jadikan kami yang sebaliknya, karena sesungguhnya Engkau Maha Kuasa atas segala sesuatu. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaitana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Allahumma arhamna bistijabati da'watina wa qabli a'malina wa taysiri umurina kulliha ya arhamar rahimin. Ya Allah, berikanlah kasih sayang-Mu kepada kami dengan mengabulkan segala doa kami, dengan menerima segala amal kami, dan dengan memudahkan segala urusan kami. Rabbana atina min ladunka rahmah wa hayyi lana min amrina rasyada. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa baraka wa sallam. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the opening ceremony. We are going to have the first plenary sessions in no time. The first plenary sessions will be from the Honorable Keynote Speakers, Professor Dr. Fahrul Zaman Huyob from UTM, Johor Bahru, Malaysia, and Dr. Kutilda Nugultham from the Kasetsar University, Thailand. The presentations will be moderated by Dr. Andreas Priyono Budi Prasetyo from Universitas Negeri Semarang. For Dr. Andreas Prasetyo, the time is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Indonesia, welcome to Semarang, and welcome to our 4th International Conference on Science from Education and Technology. I'm Andreas Priyono, would like to manage this first session. Now I would like to invite our first keynote speakers, Professor Fahrul. Would you like to be seated here? Thank you, Prof. Fahrul. Yeah, big applause for Fahrul. Then I would like to invite our second keynote speakers from Thailand. Big applause from Dr. Katira. Okay. Welcome to Semarang, from Kasetsar University. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this session will be running for approximately an hour. That is why I would like to manage this time into two categories. First category, our first 30 minutes will be dedicated to our both keynote speakers. First, Professor Fahrul, and then Ibu Dr. Kultida Nugultam. I would like to give Professor Fahrul 15 minutes for presentation, and then followed by Dr. Kultida Nugultam, the next 15 minutes. I do hope there will be approximately 30 minutes for questions and answers, for sharing ideas, anything. You can talk about microbiology, you can talk about TPCK or technological, what's that here? Yes, TPCK, yeah? Technological Pedagogical Content Knowledge. Well, before I would like to provide them with the time for presentation, let me provide you with a little CV. First, I would like to provide you with CV Professor Fahrul Huyok. He obtained his bachelor degree in biotechnology with honors from the University of Wales College, Cardiff, United Kingdom in 1995. And then his PhD was from the University of Leicester, United Kingdom in 2001. He has extensive experience in the scientific research field as well as administration. He has been either active in numerous committee and different task force related to university management and development. His dedication is on research, largely on bacteria. And then his much work was due to his interest in how toxic material, such as active component of herbicide or pesticide, Delapon glyphosate. And he's been doing many research. That's why he has been also visiting professor, invited by many universities in Southeast Asian country. And now his focus is on fundamental aspect of the biochemistry and molecular biology of pollutant degradation. Big applause for Professor Fahrul. Then our second keynote speaker, Kultida Nugultam, born in Bangkok, and now she is Deputy Dean for Student and International Affairs, lecturer in Science Education Program at the Faculty of Education and Development Sciences, Kasetsat University, Kamphaeng San Campus, Thailand. Her interest is on science and chemical education, and now she's doing research such as development of technological pedagogical content knowledge, training program for pre-service science teachers, science training for teachers, and science camp for students. She's also interested in how to think and communicate in science. PhD in Science and Technology from Institute for Innovation and Development Learning Process, Faculty Science, Mahidol University, Bangkok, Thailand. She also got his graduate diploma of teaching profession from Nakhon Sawan Rajabat University, Nakhon Sawan, Thailand. And her project is on teaching concept learning by using graphic diagram for developing science process skill of secondary education grade 8 in Nakhon School, Thailand. He has senior project chemical institution in STEM and live of acuntus iricitus lin. Applause for Kurtida. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now it is our time to follow Professor Fahrul Husop. Hopefully 15 minutes will be okay. Big applause for Prof. Fahrul.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. And a very good morning to all friends, colleagues, and also students of UNES. First slide, please. Tinggi sikit. Dia ada pada depan. Alright. Okay, terima kasih. Thank you so much just now, Dr. Andres, for introduction about myself and also my colleagues from Thailand. It is great honor to be here this morning. To share my experience in science and also in research. First of all, of course, I would like to thank ISET Committee 2018 International Conference on Science, Education and Technology for inviting me to share my experience about 20 years in science, teaching and learning and research in pure biology, especially to my colleagues, Dr. Dia, this morning to be a chairman for this session. Next slide. So, next slide, please. So, the focus of this presentation, what I noticed for the past 20 years in research, in terms of the design of the research, need to be correct. Because nowadays, we talk about high impact publication in journals and also high impact of research. Therefore, we must make sure that the standard of the research in terms of the design itself must be correct. So that's the number one point that I'd always stress to my student. Before we start our research, I wanted my student something like to think about logic. So in this particular investigation, we focus on a bacteria that can grow in high salt condition, at the same time can degrade pollutants. And the way my approach is like, I wanted my student to think, in our mouth, we have a lot of bacteria for a start. And sometimes, before we go to sleep, we gargle our mouth with salt solution. Why? Because we wanted to make sure that all the pathogenic bacteria, especially in our mouth, will be killed, so that our mouth free from any bacteria growth, so you can protect your teeth longer. So that's number one. So in this particular experiment, we wanted to see how certain bacteria, some may die and some may survive. And number two is like, I wanted my student to see in our daily life, we have ikan masin, a fish that we always put them in salt because we wanted to make sure that the fish can be consumed after a certain period of time. So we can keep a longer shelf life. So this is the idea of doing research. You must try to relate something that you apply every day and the logic thinking how this bacteria can grow. So this is how we do our work in research. So I try to relate in education, biology education. Because in biology education research, BR especially, identifying students' conceptual understandings to measure the students' understanding of a given concept and studying the effectiveness of different type of instructional approaches that promote greater student engagement. So this is the G's, the most important in biology education research. This need to be inculcated to the research student in biology. So number one, conceptual understanding. So this is very important to me for research student. So how we start our research, especially for you all the postgraduate here in this room, the student must predict the results of a problem. Of course, the rule number one, you must know what is the problem statement in your research. So without having a proper problem statement, of course, you cannot proceed with your research. And then to predict the results of a problem, this is the most important. The prediction. How you wanted to predict, you must have a very strong background. You must do a lot of literature review so that you can predict your problem. So that's number one. And then after that, you must be able to discuss the prediction with your peers. And then you must compare the prediction with the actual results that you obtain in your experimental work. So this is most important in scientific research. So for my student, basically before they can proceed with this kind of their investigation in the laboratory, I must make sure that the student must do a lot of literature review to understand the problems and the prediction. And then, of course, the most important, when they obtain their results, they must be able to discuss what their prediction is all about. So this is important in biology education, about the conceptual understanding in biology. So go back to my field of interest, something like pollutant degradation. Of course, you can see that halogenated compounds are everywhere, especially the man-made, from industrial solvents, and then these are all halogenated, cannot be degraded easily in the soil, for example, in the environment. Most of them are chlorinated, especially insecticide, pesticide, herbicide, and so on. They are persist in the environment. They can cause a lot of environmental problems. So I'm using this particular substrate, 2,2-dichloropropylene acid. It's a very basic structure in chemistry, and it is very recalcitrant because it has chloride ions attached to the carbon alpha. So this is always a model in the investigation. We talk about the toxic compounds came from various sources. It can come from synthetic halogenated compound. For example, 2,2-dichloropropylene acid is a compound which is toxic. Most like. Again, lagi. Yeah. So lagi. Next slide. Yes, this one. Oh, this one. Okay, this is something like synthetic compounds. Like 2,2-dichloropropylene is synthetic, so it is not easily degraded. The other one is naturally occurring toxic compounds, came from naturally occurring plants, marine organisms, and so on. These are all the source of halogenated compounds. So we have to understand, so in research, so the nature of degradation must always emphasize based on something like the transport, so that's the transport system. So how this compound can be transported into the organism. And then number two, because in the cells you have a lot of genes and how this gene can be regulated and finally produce the enzymes in the bacterial cells for further degradation. So these are all the basic aspects in the microbial biodegradation. So this also need to be understood by the research student, especially in the basic microbiology of the cells. So the most interesting in our investigation, the bacteria that just now that we always talk about can tolerate the seawater. And at the same time can produce dehydrogenase enzyme. So this is the most important aspect. As I can see just now, most bacteria will die in the presence of salts because the bacteria need to balance, otherwise the osmotic pressure can cause cell disruption of the bacteria. So they must have a mechanism of the bacteria to sustain their life, especially in high salt condition. And then we must be able to categorize all these bacteria in terms of how they can survive in salinity environment. So number one, of course, it is non-halophile. They can grow up to 0.2 molar, some chloride less than 0.2 molar, and then the mild halophile, and then moderate halophile, borderline, and extreme halophile. So these are all the categories. As you can see that not all bacteria can survive at very high salt condition. So this example, you can see that it is very, I'm not sure whether you can see or not, this is very small. This is the seawater, 3.5% salts. And then you have Dead Sea environment, 35%. So how this organism can survive at seawater and saline lake. So this is impossible for most of the bacteria, but some still can survive.
Connecting from here, I must bring your computer in here because the check is over here.
So degradation can be influenced by many factors like temperature, nutrients, and salinity.
Computer, and then I will click my own.
So the halophiles that thrive in high salt concentration, we call it Akai. And most halophile belongs to Halomordaceae and family of Proteobacteria and can be found in
the device doesn't connect the computer.
I know that.
This Apple is
So the main aim of the study is like to analyze the dehalogenase enzyme from the bacteria isolated from Tuzla Lake in Turkey environment. So this is what we are going to see at the end of the day. How this bacteria can survive, what are the properties that the bacteria must have in order to survive in this particular environment. So in biology education, from the start of my speech, I always emphasize the experimental design must be correct so that you can easily achieve the main objectives. So the objective of any scientific investigation must agree with your experimental design. So before we start in any postgraduate research, I always emphasize the student must be able to design the experiment correctly. So the main aim must now, we look at how to obtain this bacteria. How are we going to isolate this bacteria? So you must be able to design a proper growth media to support growth of your bacteria of interest. So number two, having successfully isolated the bacteria, you must be able to prove that this bacteria can grow in your selective media in the presence of toxic compound that you wanted to analyze. And then, of course, you wanted to characterize the bacteria itself. You must be able to identify their genus and species, and you must be able to look at their biochemical characteristics. And then the further analysis you can do to analyze, because nowadays people talk about genes, the proteomic, genomic studies, so you must be able to amplify the genes full sequence. There are many ways to get that. For example, you can clone the whole gene of your interest, or maybe you can use another techniques, we call it PCR, polymerase reaction, to amplify your specific genes, and then you do the proteomic analysis. So then we can proceed more experiment related to modeling study, validation of the modeling, to predict the structure and function of proteins, and you do the dockings of the proteins and the substrates, and then you can do many things with your experimental design. So again, in biology education, I must emphasize that the experimental design must agree with your main objectives. So this is, I can go through very quick about this. So having established your methods, the techniques, then you can always easily get your results. So in research, again, the design aspect must be correct. Then you can easily get isolation of your bacteria. You look at a specific organism that can grow on your selective plates. You can look at their structure and function of your bacteria. Yeah. Then you can have the plate culture in the labs, and then you start to grow them in the liquid media. Yeah. Of course, this is very small slides. You can characterize them easily based on what biochemical tests that you will carry out in basic microbiology. So there's nothing complicated in this particular area. Then of course, you must be able to predict their growth in the presence of varieties of salt condition, because just now you isolate from the salt environment. I don't have to describe more, and then you look at the temperature. What is the optimum temperature for the bacteria to grow? So you must test at every individual temperatures that you wanted to see. And then of course the pH will influence the acidity, the salinity, and of course the acid and base. You must be able to design experiments in terms of the pH requirements of the bacteria. And then you check the presence of specific genes. Bacteria must have a DNA. You check their DNA, and then you do PCR. You predict the names, the genus and species of the bacteria based of CCS RNA analysis. And then you check that, you compare all the data. You need to look at the whole picture about the growth experiment. Of course, you must make sure that the bacteria can grow in your toxic compound. You need to measure whether the toxic compound can be consumed by the bacteria. So you need to check, you have a high-end instrumentation like HPLC to measure the amount of toxic compound from high concentration. Then after a certain period of time, you can see it become zero concentration. That will indicate the bacteria can consume all the toxic compound. Then you must relate the growth, whether the growth experiment correlated with the amount of the substrate that you provide. So this kind of experiment need to be designed properly. When it comes to the gene isolation, you need to design, thank you. You need to design a proper a primer to fish out the gene. Then you get a specific gene sequence, and then you compare that to the database. Then you can always predict what are the gene, what are the proteins resemble with. So these are all basic study investigation. And when you study the proteins, you look at the amounts of acid amino present in the proteins, whether they are more towards acidic or base proteins. They can always check to predict the structure and function of proteins. You can see the red color refer to high acidity, a lot of amino acid. Then finally you have your research contribution, so I can see where are we, in terms of what our findings. So in conclusion, before I stop, so basically what we found, so the most important that the bacteria can grow, can degrade almost all of our model substrate. And of course, the highest concentration bacteria can grow is up to maybe more than 20% of salt environment. So this is the general findings of the investigation. So, so I would like to say thank you very much for your attention for this morning. So again, what I emphasize in biology education, in terms of you need to think about the nature of the research, and then of course you need to understand whenever you have the main aims of the research, at the same time you can easily design your experiment based on the main objective of your study. So this is very important in particular in this biology research. So my last slides, we will have something like another conference in Bali. We call it International Conference on Bioscience and Medical Engineering. I would like to invite all the students who has their good data of your results from the lab, for example. You can always present this in any international seminar that we can share the knowledge among us. So thank you very much for your attention. So thank you very much also to the chairman for allowing me to proceed with my speech this morning. Thank you.
Big applause for Prof. Fahrul. Thank you so much, Prof. Fahrul. Now I would like to invite the second keynote speaker from Thailand. Would you like to start your presentation, please? And here you are. A big applause for our keynote speakers from ISET University.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
How are you? Yeah, good to see you. And I would like to take my gratitude to our colleagues at the UNES. And this is my third time here. And for today, I would like to talk about the advantage of the ICT in science education. All right. So, what are you looking for the classroom with the ICT? Is too complicated for you? Because it's too many of the ICT application around this world. So today I would like you to categorize some of the application to applicable, available, and accessible in the classroom. So before we go further, I would like to congratulate to be the Indonesian will be the host for the Asian Games this year, right? Yeah, big applause to you. So what do you think about the Asian Games? I think about these running shoes. What do you think? Is that news? Is that just regular one or something similar to you? This running shoe is a new technology. It's made from liquid plastic. You know, it's used a 3D printer to print out the running shoe. So nowadays, technology is all over for our daily life. All right. So, technology is not friendly to me right now. So, do you know the world citizen today? The left-hand side is Bill Gates, right? And the right-hand side, who is he? Who is he? He is the Mark Zuckerberg that made us the Facebook famous right now. And the last one, Jack Ma. He is a billionaire and run about the Alibaba website to sell everything in the world. Especially, do you know durian? In Thailand, the famous fruit, the king of fruits in Thailand, now available online. That's because he believes it's not the technology that changed the world, it's the dreams behind the technology that changed the world. So, what do you want to teach students? What the future of the student to be? So the student have to have the communication skill. They have to think critically to make decisions for everything in their life. And they have to solve their problems. And they have to think positively. And they have to have the scientific reasoning and explanations. And the last thing, right now, you have to put some design and engineering process skill into your students. Next, if you teach them, like you put some technology skill, science skill, and then you will see some students. This is the Pat story. Pat is the Thai citizen that have the scholar to study in the MIT, USA. What about Pat? Pat has he graduated from the biology, and plus he is a coder, and plus he is an architecture. So let's see what Pat's saying about his work right now. All right, there is no sound, but anyway, I will talk with Pat. Pat talk about he run the private marketing on the prototype. He called Freak Lab. He think that the prototype is possible. When they think the technology for the bio, it's like he think about how to produce the food from their mind, from your mind. And he used the 3D printing for print the food from our mind. So he is the one. So if you want to know about him, it's like this one. Yeah. A lot of past story that you have to check it out in the website. He also think forward and beyond the futures. So right now, I think if student concerned about technology and science, he will be like Pat right now, and he will famous and run everything about the futures. So next, all right. So now, how do you learn inside in the classroom? Everyone know that when you manage the science classroom, it's like you bringing classroom outside. You have the field trip and you learning from the local learning resources, and you observe a working place, and you learning science from the everyday life. But like now, you bringing the experience into the classroom, and how it's gonna use the experience into the classroom. We use the ICT, and we use the digital world to improve the soft skill. So next, if you are a science teacher, you will be like an ICT user. I'm sure you are not a programmer, but you have to choose the right one into the classroom, because you have many applications right now, right? And how can you select the best one into the classroom? You have to think like technology, pedagogical, content, knowledge, framework. And how is that thing talk about? So you need to know how the technology used in classroom, what is the methods, what is the technique for teaching in the classroom. And then you have to know what is the science concept that match between the technology and the teaching methods. So I will gonna show you about the application today. It's up to date right now. So the first one, I'm gonna show you the, where is, this is a free online. Have you ever used this before? We call FET. FET is a interactive simulations. You can play with the simulations like this. Okay, if you want to experiment some like pendulum laboratory, is you can play and collect the data, and you will see immediately what changed with your lab. So is it easy to use if you play it for like this? And you can experiment and check for many things you want to know. If you want to change from the Earth to the Moon, what the thing change, what the mass effect to the pendulum. Is that easy to use? Okay. All right. So the next one, it should be, oh, sorry. Next is Gizmo. Gizmo is the one that interact with the student by using the simulation, also simulation. And Chem Collective is for the chemistry things. It's like if you want to calculate the solution, how can you weight the substance and how can you make the solutions. And for the Clicker, Kahoot, and Quizlet, this is the application for assessment students. So the last one is a massive open online for the one who would like to learn more from the university. There are many courses provided from the university over the world. So if you have many more applications, so I will categorize for you. We have the 4 categories such as cognitive, practical, attitude, and assessment. Some of the applications not good for the assessment, but some applications that have many highlight of the categories such as FET. FET is the good application that can help students understand the science concept and help them practice in science process skill. And also the students like to use this is make the attitude forward science. And the last thing, FET can assess the understanding of the concept of the science. For the Clicker, Kahoot, and Quizlet, it's useful for just assessment. It's a highlight of the application nowadays. I ran this application for the teacher training in science education in Thailand. So let's see how about the material today in Thailand. We also put the augmented reality in our ebook, science ebook like this. It's AR. When you use your phone and then use your camera, and we'll have the simulation on that. I will show you some. This is from my pre-service classroom. They use the augmented reality in the science ebook like this. So when you will see the simulation and the describe about the what? It's a flower, and this is the example of the AR in the science ebook in Thailand. So, what do you think? How is the ICT in the science classroom look like? How can you merge between the ICT in the classroom? This is the one of the science teacher from the laboratory school in Chulalongkorn University. He managed the classroom, the science classroom, by the first one. He engaged students by using the video clip about the bungee jump. And then he asked the student, do you know about bungee jumps? What it deal with your life? And what about, and then when the first question came up, the student will like, oh, okay, just 3 minutes. Oh, okay. And the student just do the experiment themselves. It's like what will happen when you drop the different mass of the matter. And then the student know and compare between the real experiment with the simulations. That it is confirmed that the student will know the correct concept Next, he will teach more about the light concept. And then the student do the real experiment again. And then he try to emphasize the student to make the design the products from their knowledge. And then they make a real products from their knowledge. And then, so this is from the one of my teachers. Okay. So if you concerned about the inquiry-based learning, this is the very significant model, teaching model in our science classroom. We have to engage students using videos or any simulation, and then let the student explore and comparing with the simulations, and let the student explanation, and then students have to use the concept to make the things happen in the designs and products. And he can communicate us what the product is and how can use that products. So in my conclusions, I give you the 3 perspective views of the science teacher today. So you have to understand the main science concept of thinking and practice skill. And you need to choose the right ICT in your classroom and match with the content and context. And you should choose for students to build and reflect their science concept. By the way, the perfect combined ICT tool or application is that the teacher could try and error and play them well, and make sure that the application that's suitable for your classroom. And make sure that your student will achieve the learning indicators. So, the last but not least, grab your mobile phone right now. Okay? Everyone? Yes? Okay, and open the Safari, Chrome, or Internet Explorer and jump into kahoot.it. Okay? I would like you to play the game with me. Okay? All right. Okay. We will play after you have been listening my talk. Okay. We are loading right now. So, are you in the kahoot.it right now? All right. So this will show on your mobile phone right now. So, all right. Okay, we are connecting right now. So you should put the game pin, this number into your phone. Okay, 13183116. You go to this site right now, kahoot.it, and you put the game pin. And then you click enter, okay? All right, we are the competition right now. So I can count how many of you today. Not just 40, it's 1,000 right now. All right. Anyone want to join? Quickly, please. I just got 1 minute left. Okay? We will gonna start soon. All right. All right. Are we ready? Are we ready? Yes. Are we click start? Are we start? Shall we start? Okay. And 100 starts. Just look at the question. And then you click. Which one? Click on your phone, not in this one. Click on your phone right now. 20 seconds right now. Click on your phone. Wow. We have 100 people. All right. Who choose the right answer? Please show your hand. Okay. Next questions. Who is that? Oh, you are the top of the score. Next questions. We have 3 questions right now. All right. Oh, okay. It should be tea pack. All right. Oh, it's still Sa. Okay. The last questions. Wow. Yay! Who gonna win for just a short assessment from the audience? Who is the winner? Sa! Who is Sa right now? I have the gift for you. Okay, come. I have a gift for her, but anyway, it's my. Yep. So anyway, it's all about my talk today, and thank you for your attention. And Sa, hey, I will see you after this, and I give you the gift for you. Okay? Where are you, Sa? Okay. Thank you so much for your attention again. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Big applause for Kultida. Would you like to see it? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Well, now it is your time to share your ideas, to ask questions, to elaborate. Yeah, we have 20 minutes, so I would like to divide. If you are so interested in microbiology, so please refer your question to Prof. Fahrul. However, if you are so interested in the use of technology for science education, you can ask Kultida. Okay? Now, please do not forget to stand up and introduce yourself and mention your question or mention your sharing ideas. Here you are. Yes, thank you, one. Okay. Then, second question. Okay, the first one, and then any question? No question? Okay, I would like to give you special time first.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'd like to direct my questions to Dr. Kutilda. No. So it is a very interesting presentation. You introduce a lot about application for students teaching and learning. And I'd like to know how would you integrate this kind of learning activity with face-to-face classroom learning? What kind of method or approach that you use? Now we know that there is a kind of teaching learning processes which is called blended learning. Do you think that blended learning will be good for practicing the ideas that you just put forward just now? And that is one thing. Another thing is that you introduce, a website from the university in Thailand. Could you, let's say, could we get full access from Indonesia to make use of that facility? Thank you very much.
Okay, so what's your name?
My name is Mokhlas Yusak from English Education Department.
You are from
UNES.
UNES,
UNES,
okay.
right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Pak Yusak.
Right.
Yes, Pak Yusak first. Pak Yusak
Thank
from
you.
UNES. Okay. The question is for Dr. Kultida. So you got the mention? You understand his question?
Yes.
Okay.
You mean the application today, you can access it for free. It's because I just select the good application that easy to use and friendly user for everyone. But actually it's all of the application that host from the other university. It's not my website. So you can access anytime, anywhere. And it's for public. People can join everything. But you have to know some of the application have very not easy to use it. You have to play and check it. What kind of application that suitable for the classroom? So when before I use all of the application, I have to use and practice and manage my lesson plans. Which one it should be in my classroom? That's not easy because you have to get through about the technology. It's like how to connect the application. You have to have like Wi-Fi. You have to have the devices, the thing that's come through, and you have to learn with that before you go to the classroom. Thank you.
Online learning with face-to-face classroom. That is another question that I'd like to get the answer from you. Let me elaborate that we now have a kind of, let's say, teaching learning process which is called blended learning, meaning integrating online learning with face-to-face classroom learning. Because school has their own curriculum syllabus, how would you, let's say, integrate this school curriculum and, let's say, the application that you just described just now?
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
So you have to take care, the first thing you have to look up in the curriculum, right? And when you teach content, you just not only lecture for the student, but you have to put them the questions, and you have to let them do the experiments, and then you will get the good result from the student. And the ICT should put some between in the classroom, just like the first that I mentioned. If you use the 5E models, you just use in the first step, just engage them by the simulations or interactive things.
Okay.
And then you give them a question and some discussion. That's all, just only one thing to use the ICT in the classroom. Or you would like to just have the simulation experiment at the exploration steps. That enough. Not just use too much technology, but you have to choose the right one to make student understanding about the science concept. That is my view. Yep.
All right, thank you. Probably Professor Fahrul could, share whether blended learning has been implemented in Malaysia, because we are now trying to introduce blended learning into our school. All right, thank you.
Okay. Actually, we also emphasize blended learning. Something like we have face-to-face is compulsory. And then, of course, they develop a system.
Right.
I think there is a software where the student can communicate with their lecturer online.
All right.
And then, of course, the lecturer must upload the notes online. Apart from notes, the lecture syllabus, learning, I don't know what they call it, first week learn what, second week learn what, upload all these materials.
Okay.
And then sometimes assignments also, the assignments question also posted online, the student can view it.
All right.
It is a compulsory actually by Ministry of Education, because every year they will ask to the university how frequent, berapa kali ataupun berapa banyak peratuskah sistem ini digunakan. Mana digalakkan menggunakan sistem secara atas talian di samping face-to-face learning. But again, another model that we have, that's for most of the public university. But there is one university, we call it open university. So open university, of course, is only 20% of their mode of education is face-to-face, 20%. And 80% is online.
Learning.
So it's like, as a teacher for open university, must always stand by using online, because communication is 7 days a week, things like that. So that's only general perspective I can give related in Malaysian university, public university and open university in Malaysia. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we still have time, approximately 10 minutes. Would you like to maximize this time for questioning or sharing ideas? Any question for Prof. Fahrul? Any question for Kultida? Okay, stand up. If you have question, stand up and do not forget to introduce yourself clearly. Okay, I'll let you go.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Anna. I come from primary education. I would like to ask to Dr. Kutilda, Thailand. First of all, I would like to say thank as a parents. Your presentation look like refresh my mind. It is important to put science application in our gadget. So beside YouTube and movie and cartoon movie, so cell phone itself can be more give us more advantage. And my question is, since application need modern instrument tool or in modern tool, how can we solve school that has not that kind of modern instrument or tool? Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the questions. You don't need a modern devices because all application can run on the website. It's easy to get through, you know. So every application is designed for the friendly user. There is just one click to the application and you get the reflect. So if you just use at least Windows 7, right? Is that okay for you? And if you have the Android platform in your mobile phone, it can usable, no worries. And the one thing you should worry about is a Wi-Fi connection. That should a big problem in Thailand also. But how can I say? If you use the other provider internet connection nowadays in the market, it's okay for use in the classroom. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any question? Any more question? Yeah. We still have 5 minutes to go. Okay. Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
My name is Aulia Zulfa. I'm from Mathematics Study Program. Okay, thanks on the opportunity. And then now, I would like to give question to Dr. Kutilda from Thailand. How about you? What is the right ICT to improve problem solving in mathematics? Thank you.
Okay.
So there are a million applications right now for the mathematics, right? If you not understand the mathematics concept, you should jump into the Khan Academy. Do you know him? Khan Academy, he is one of the famous learning resources, and he teach about the mathematics also science. And you have also, in the FET that I have shown you before, PHET, they also have the mathematics simulation concept. You can take a look and check it out in that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any question? Back or in the middle? Still one. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
Cek. Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
My name is Ong Argo Victoria. I'm Skudai Johor Bahru, Malaysia. Salam Bro Fahrul. Okay, especially I would like to ask about the communication between the international conference. Maybe everyone likes some English is very basic and important to make some communicates between one person to another. That's why we must using the English? Just we are the Asian community and the peoples, especially also the student in the school everywhere. Now basically they also study about the bilingual school, like English and the primary of the school in that country. And now we are the Asian community has like some Malay, or Nusantara language, like some lingua franca, to get some understanding about the stroke of the knowledge from the teacher to the student. So what's up and what is the results? To get implementations, how to make some good communicates between the teacher and the learners. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, it's not clear because, yeah. So would you like to repeat again, slowly, yeah? Slowly. Yeah. The gentleman, would you like to repeat again your question, precisely and slowly? Are you
Prof. Fahrul? Prof. Fahrul, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear, but what's the main question? Can you please repeat that again?
Prof. Fahrul, exactly, I'm from Malaysia, but this is like some big implications and problems in our nation, especially for the Asian area. Especially in every work conference, maybe we are using like English. This is the basic way to communicate, isn't it? Like some PBB using English, but we can't afford cadence about our originally language via the Nusantara Islands. Exactly like that. And everywhere for the students, especially in the school now, starting and study about the bilingual language, like the original ones, and English, like the international communications. So, how to get understanding about the teacher and the learner, that we don't forget about our identity. I think like that. Thank you. Understanding? Understanding? That's good.
Yeah, that's the most difficult question to answer, but I try my best. To my understanding, of course, why we teach science, mathematics in English, is that what you mean? It's like, because it is the medium of international language, we wanted to deliver something in a common communication. So most of the text are in English, so therefore we emphasize science, mathematics in English. So I think that's the most nearest answer to your question, I hope. Is that answering the question just now? I'm sorry, I cannot pick up very well.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I think we can continue our discussion after this session because our time is limited. Now, I would like to close this first session by saying thank you so much to our keynote speakers from UTM Malaysia and from Thailand. Big applause, please. Thank you. And now back to the committee.
Thank you for the
Dad.
moderator and keynote speakers. Please remain on stage for token of appreciations. We would like to present token of appreciations to thank you for the fruitful presentations. For this, we would like to invite Professor Toto Sumaryanto to come to the stage. We would like to invite to all keynote speakers to come to the stage. The token of appreciation is given to thank all the keynote speakers for their contributions in this conference. And the first token of appreciation is given to Professor Fahrul Zaman Huyop from UTM, Johor Bahru, Malaysia. The second token of appreciation is given to our second keynote speaker, Dr. Kutilda Nugutham from Kasetsart University, Thailand. Thank you very much. You may return to your seat.
Cek, satu dua. Cek, 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 cek. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is the second plenary session that will be moderated by Professor Dr. Januarius Mujianto M.Hum with two keynote speakers. For the first, I invite Dr. Paul Thomas from Monash University and Dr. Jatun Prihandono, SAMM PhD from Universitas Negeri Semarang. For the moderator, Professor Dr. Januarius Mujianto M.Hum. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Your Honor, Dr. Paul Thomas, Your Honor, Dr. Dorotjatun Prihandono, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Now we come to the second session of this seminar. Here we have two keynote speakers, Dr. Paul Thomas and Dr. Prihandono. Before starting with the sessions, allow me to introduce the two speakers. First, Dr. Paul Thomas obtained his PhD in Translation Studies in Monash University. He also obtained his MA in Applied Linguistics in Melbourne University. Bachelor of Education degree in Modern Languages in Adelaide University, Associate Diploma in Applied Science, and he also has in his pocket professional level translator certificate, NATI certificate. Dr. Paul Thomas studied his career through experiences in radio, travel, and theater. He studied languages informally before enrolling in an education degree with majors in Italian and Indonesian. His Indonesian is excellent. After graduating, he taught in Indonesia, Singapore, and he began working as freelance translator. And on returning to Australia, he took up positions teaching Bahasa Indonesia in, where is it? In institutions with research primarily on the role of first language as language learning strategy. His current research is translation studies, which reflects a strong interest in political and historical role in translation, particularly in the field of journalism and as a point of first contact between nations, including Indonesia, Singapore, and some other countries. Right. All right, now allow me to introduce the second panelist. That is Dr. Dorojatun Prihandono. Yeah. Dr. Prihandono was born in Semarang, 1973, and he finished his bachelor degree in economics in Diponegoro University, and he obtained his master's degree in management in Diponegoro University also, and he obtained his PhD from Business School University of Gloucestershire, United Kingdom. He started his career in the year 2000, and when he was a marketing staff at a local garden furniture manufacturer company in Semarang, he also worked at one of the local retail company as assistant supervisor. He started his career as lecturer when he joined University of Semarang as a lecturer. And at present, he is a lecturer at the management department. His research interest is mainly areas of marketing, franchising, risk management, and SMEs. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the first speaker, Dr. Paul Thomas. Dr. Paul Thomas, the floor is yours.
We've got our slide up. First of all, I should start by thanking Professor Toto Sumaryanto and his academic colleagues here at the Universitas Negeri Semarang. They've given me a warm welcome, and this is my second presentation at UNES, so I'm very happy to be back. Previously, it wasn't such a big crowd, and for an Indonesian lecturer to see so many people in a room, it's very unusual, and it's at the heart of what I'm going to say today. Of course, unfortunately, we've got declining numbers in Indonesian studies in Australia, so we're lucky to speak to more than 50 people let alone this many people in a room. So maybe I'm a little bit nervous. I also note that we've got the conference themes, which are on science, education and technology, but I'll be concentrating on education with a little bit about technology, but I'm afraid no science. I don't have any science. So I ask your patience for those science students and researchers to bear with me in this presentation. Okay, so let's start. First of all, the idea of teaching Indonesian in Australia is a very unique situation. There is no country outside of Indonesia that teaches Indonesian from the primary through the secondary to tertiary level. Indonesian at tertiary level is found in many European, North American and Asian universities, but not through the education system. So it's a unique cultural experience for us. And at the heart of what I'm going to say, at the core of what I'm going to say, is about cultural choice. Cultural choice is something we do every day. In fact, I had to do it today when I chose between wearing a batik shirt or a standard business shirt. And perhaps that says something about my choices, that I chose my batik shirt. Hopefully it's appropriate. But you're also all making cultural choices. But the thing is, we tend to make cultural choices based on the familiar. Right?
You can just pointer to...
Oh, okay, yes, okay. Thank you. This is the technical part. Hopefully my voice sounds a little bit better with this microphone. But what I was saying about cultural choice is we tend to choose the familiar rather than the unfamiliar. And this is the awkward thing about language study, is that language study is about putting yourself in unfamiliar circumstances, something we generally avoid. Now, the teaching of Indonesian has received considerable support from government and educational institutions. In these photos, you can see the one on the left-hand side. In the background, you might be able to make out our shadow Minister for Finance, Chris Bowen, who's a finance minister, but promoting Indonesian in a primary school, which seems quite remarkable. He is also learning Indonesian, and I've heard his first speeches in Indonesian. On the right-hand side, you've got Julie Bishop, who is our foreign minister, and here she is promoting Indonesian amongst tertiary students. So here, at very high levels of government area, we've got support for the study of Indonesian. So it starts to tell you there must be more to this than just your ordinary subject. This also goes back quite a long time. We can see that Indonesia made the first moves in 1954. So Indonesia is just a young country. It was fully recognized by the United Nations, as I'm sure you're aware, in 1949. And so in 1954, they proposed a good neighbour policy with Australia. And Australia is also new in its own diplomatic relations with other countries. Previous to the Second World War, Australia followed the United Kingdom. It basically did whatever the United Kingdom was doing. But after the Second World War, it had to start making its own decisions, and Indonesia was an interesting experiment for it. So both countries, Indonesia and Australia, are experimenting with each other's foreign policy, and part of that is this cultural diplomacy which is going on. And you can see Indonesia proposes the first treaty of friendship, and Australia replies with a proposed cultural agreement. But it was so different. It was so new to Australia, and Indonesia went through a very traumatic period during the change from Sukarno to Suharto, and so the agreement wasn't signed until 1968. But the first article says that the two high contracting parties shall foster the teaching in Australia of the Indonesian language and in Indonesia of the English language in educational institutions. So this goes back quite a long time. And Indonesia acted in goodwill. It even sent 16,000 books across to Australia to help start off this teaching of Indonesia. And here is an example of cultural diplomacy, which is part of this soft power that we now describe as soft power, the idea that you can use culture as an alternative to hard power, the idea of using sanctions or using military force, but there is another part of diplomacy which is soft power, where you can help influence people. And here is the crux of our problem. Here are the statistics looking at an interesting period, just the reformasi period in Indonesia, when democracy is being spread through the political system. And it should have been a very good time for the Australian-Indonesian relationship. But what happens in Indonesian studies is there is a gradual decline right at the time when these very positive moves are being made in Indonesia. The problem is we didn't quite know why. Some people pointed to the area travel warnings, which stopped a lot of schools from visiting Indonesia. Other people saw cultural change itself in Australia. And there were fears that this might repeat some of the things that had already happened. 1930s, there was a closure of the programs. That's when we first started to teach Malay, which later became Indonesian. We also closed programs after the Second World War, and there were slumps in other particular periods.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, we might just hold that one. And I'm sorry, I forgot I'm not connected here. Okay, we'll just hold that. So the interesting thing for me in my research has been, that's good, has been the last of these particular reasons that we've been looking at, the actual invisibility of Indonesians in Australian popular culture. That is, it's not so much a prejudice, but the fact that Australians, particularly Australian students, are just not thinking about Indonesia. They're not thinking good, they're not thinking bad, they're just not thinking about it because we don't see Indonesians in our films, we don't see it on television, we don't see it in music, we don't see them. There are some various statistics here to show that there is a reasonably positive attitude to the idea of language learning, and this was a review I thought was more interesting of parents. You can see in the second one, so if you can go next, that 91% of Australian parents in these were parents involved in parents' organisations, believed that it was an important skill for Australians to possess an ability to communicate across culture. But if we skip down, we find out only 60% would like their child to study an Asian language. So there's a disconnect there. You would think that if 91% believed that Australians should be able to communicate across cultures, that language would be an essential element in that. But at the moment, it's not there. We also know there's a lot of competition. China and Japan and also South Korea have been very strong in promoting their languages in Australia. And this is seen as one of the elements, an early realization of what soft power might do for the relationship between Australia and those countries, and the specific elements that it might have, have in terms of the economy. Just while we talk about soft power, it's important to understand its meaning. It was a concept developed in the late 1980s by a man known as Joseph Nye. It's somewhat misunderstood quite commonly, but at its heart it was about effective communication, the capacity for effective communication. But most countries think, well, this is a way we can influence people. This is a way we can persuade countries. But Nye doesn't look at it that way. He emphasizes the ability to attract people to your culture. And that's the sort of slight misunderstanding that occasionally occurs. So it's not just about influence, it's not just about persuasion, but it's about attraction to a culture. If we look at the context of Australia's own cultural identity, generally we describe ourselves as a multicultural nation, made up of many cultures, many religions, many ideas, but at the same time, We also have many languages as well. And these are the top 10 languages spoken in Australian homes. You'll notice that there are a number of Asian languages there, including Mandarin, Cantonese, and Tagalog, and Vietnamese. Indonesian, by example, is number 19th in ranking in languages spoken in Australian homes. So a very small percentage, 0.3%. But this has increased rapidly since the previous census. It's increased, in fact, 32%, so quite a growth. So when we're talking about Australia's identity, we talk about its cultural identity, but it's also influenced greatly through its geographical positioning. Up until the last 5 or 6 years, we've talked a lot about the Asia-Pacific region. But this terminology is changing, it's evolving, and now we talk more about the Indo-Pacific nations. And it's interesting to see that Indonesia and Australia, amongst the Indo-Pacific nations, are quite critical because they have direct borders with the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. So very few countries in the region have that connection, but it suits Australia and Indonesia very, very much. So Australia finds itself in the next to Southeast Asia, in the Pacific, with a border with the Indian Ocean, but often there's a sense that it wants to drag itself in some other direction. There are some people who really, for practical purposes, see Australia really much more linked to the Anglophone countries of North America and of the UK and Ireland. And it struggles, Australia struggles to shift its cultural identity. Returning to this issue of the invisibility of Indonesians in Australian culture, Australians experience Indonesia through two main areas at the moment. The first is through the mainstream news media, and the second is through the teaching of Indonesian in Australian schools and universities. Unfortunately, most students don't look at mainstream media now. They get their news feed on their phone, on their smartphones. They look it through the computer, and a lot of it is filtered according to their own tastes. So we don't have any cliche. Can we move on? Sorry, I should get used to this. So this is what I meant by Australia repositioning itself in real terms. And the next one. And the next one. I'll just move up. Okay, so here is a number of cliches. But if you ask someone, imagine, picture, do a quick drawing for me of a French person, they would tend to grab at cliches like a beret, a baguette, a glass of wine. The same we could ask for Italians or Chinese or Japanese. But if you ask an average Australian, quickly draw me a picture of an Indonesian, they don't even have a cliche. They don't quite know. They know about news events that have occurred in Indonesia, but not Indonesian people. So this is part of this very much unfamiliar area that we're asking people to walk into if they decide to study Indonesian. Next slide. This sort of research has parallels in other areas of the world, particularly the United States with Spanish-speaking cultures in Central and South America, and in Europe with the Arab-speaking cultures in North Africa. So most of you who are familiar with American films over the last 10 years would see increasing amounts of Spanish being spoken in American films. We also see a lot of Arabic coming into Italian films and German films, which relate to issues there. But as yet, in Australian films, there are only few rare examples where Indonesian is used. I do have some of those. Very quickly looking at some historical images. The earliest images in Australia of Indonesians come from the period when trepang fishers came down from Makassar. If we look at that central image, can we go to the next one? Sorry. Look at that central image. That is the earliest picture of an Indonesian in Australia, and it was drawn in 1803. And we even have the person's name, Po Basso or Puang Basso, who was from Makassar. And that is our oldest image. They're neither positive images or negative images, but probably more exotic images to the Australians of that time. As we move forward, next slide, we start getting slightly negative images, particularly in relationship to pirates. So Indonesians become pirates, someone to fear. These come from news reports, and then they drift into popular culture through books. And if we move to the next slide, even in the earliest children's book, which was written in Australia in 1841, often described as the earliest children's book, here there's a story that a mother is telling to a child about the Malay praus which are visiting the north coast of Australia. But her child has a strange reaction to it. Her child, Julius, he starts off saying, "We do not care if there were 500 of these frippery vessels. Our roaring cannon will soon teach them to keep among their islands and let white people alone. I wish I had been there. I would have helped to fire away upon them, leaving only a few to go back and tell the rest. How will we treat such bad people in future?" So he's quite angry. But his mother just says, you know, keep it calm. Take a chill pill. Take it easy. She says, "Stay, Julius. You have brought your roaring cannon into use too soon. These Malays are only come to ask the English to let them be under their protection while they collect and cure trepang." So here is an early piece of popular culture trying to balance this relationship already. I just flicked through this because I'm worried about time, but so the images start to develop as we go through the different periods of time. This 20th century period, this early 20th century period, sees the Indonesians as workers, as coolies, because that's what they're doing on the north coast of Australia. They're not people that you socialise with. They're not people that you marry. So they are true aliens. Move to the next one. But that changes in the Second World War. Suddenly, Indonesians become people that we need to work with, that we have a combined enemy, which is the Japanese. And so the pictures change completely. We now see friendships. Thank you. Ooh, I don't know what I can do in 2 minutes. We see friendships between Indonesians. Some of the Australian soldiers thought they would be working with the Dutch, but the people who arrived, in fact, were Indonesian soldiers, and it changed their perceptions. And in this period, finally, we look at the 1950s, where diplomacy between the two countries requires an equality. And this equality starts to build itself around respect for each other's culture. And one of the first things they do is introduce Indonesian into universities. Next slide. However, we should say that popular culture is not under the control of governments or universities, and that it's increasingly evolving. So soft power and its ideas are quite different these days compared to what we used to think of it, say, in the early 1990s. Next slide. So Australians now are using their smartphones, they're using their connectivity with the rest of the world through their technology, and there's a sense that it's become global. But it's not really global in the way that we would think of global. What's happening is people are following what is familiar. And so they're joining with other groups which are using familiar things. So K-pop doesn't come from Korea. K-pop goes to United States, and then from the United States, it goes to Australian popular culture. So we see it through filtered eyes. Next slide. And interesting enough, it wasn't a film or it wasn't a TV program, but it was an advertisement which had the biggest impact on the image of Indonesians in the last 10 years. This was an advertisement for an insurance company. And the insurance company put the advertisements on YouTube, And the YouTubes went viral in Australia. People loved the stories, so the advertisements got longer and became more like stories. Next one. And I thought I'd just have time to show you one, if you could click on the video. Is it going to work? Not sure. Okay, so the story is about two people, even though it's supposed to be an advertisement, Rhonda and Ketut. And Rhonda and Ketut start up this relationship in Bali. And this goes through a series of episodes, I think about 5 or 6 episodes. It's still an advertisement. That's the hard thing to keep thinking about. But Ketut is quite different. There's the advertisement. If we have time, I'll play the other one, but at the moment, just move to the next slide. So we have an evolution really in the way of the image of the Indonesian in this advertisement. Ketut still evokes that idea that Indonesians might be a servant, but he switches it around because he's the one who is witty, he's the one who's funny, he's also flirtatious, and it's the Australian woman who is vulnerable and culturally awkward and not in control of the situation. So some of your feminist theory might come into play here, but just looking at the Australian and Indonesian relationship, it's a quite interesting twist because ultimately they accept one another. Next slide. Just the next slide. So the future of this cultural relationship still probably hangs around the idea that we may still see each other in our films, in our TV programs, in our music. Though in Australia, this is still the starting point is often the media, the journalistic reports. And it's the reports that come into popular culture as film and television. Next one. We still have some alternatives, and those some alternatives include streaming in Australia now, where Indonesian films can be watched. One of my favourites is Marlina, which is the Muli Surya is the director. She's one of my favourite Indonesian directors, and she is now, her film is streamed through the Australian streaming program Stan. So there are ways now that we can get some contact. Next slide. I'm just going to jump that one. Next one. So, I need to conclude. The bottom line is that Australian government and Australian universities are very committed to the teaching of Indonesian. And they've classified it as a strategic language. What it means is that a university cannot stop the teaching of Indonesian unless it asks the permission of the Australian government. So, if they wanted to close my program at Monash, you would have to go to the Australian government and ask permission. That's not the case for Japanese or Chinese. You can close the program. It's up to the university. So they're very different. However, there's this disconnect between policy and the current cultural choices by students. And their influences are based on global trends, but those global trends are filtered through Anglophone countries. Finally, to make this successful, to see a change, I think we will have to see greater cooperation in creative industries, not just between Australia and Indonesia, but other countries where Indonesia's soft power has had success. And Indonesian soft power has been very successful in Timor-Leste through the touring of music groups into Timor-Leste, into Malaysia through music and film, and also in Singapore, and hopefully Thailand as well. So I'd like to thank you today for your patience. And hopefully we'll soon see each other in film or television or even in books. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Paul Thomas. Briefly, I should like to remind you that there are several keywords that Dr. Thomas presented. That is cultural agreements, cultural diplomacy, competition for attention, communication and attraction, language spoken at home. There is one question, who are Indonesians? And then there's a threat from the north, and the solution is seeking equality through cultural performance. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the second session. That is Dr. Dorjatun. Dr. Dorjatun, floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you. Today, I would like to present our research. It's about entrepreneurial mindset, especially in the Indonesian higher education institution. First of all, I would like to tell you that this project or this research is part of the KITA project, which is the Growing Indonesia Triangle Approach, which is also co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program from the European Union. And I would like also to announce that our university, the Universitas Negeri Semarang, is part of the consortium, which consists of 11 universities around the world. So we have 4 universities from the UK, Ireland, Germany, Austria, and also we have another 6 universities from Indonesia. Together we are going to work of how to enhance our graduates' capability in dealing with the real world. And also we would like to enhance our university management by using this entrepreneurial mindset. And further that we are going to do is also we are going to have a more relationship with the businesses also, especially around Universitas Negeri Semarang, so that we can have a holistic approach from the 3 points, which is the university or HEIs, students, and the business. Next. First of all, I would like to tell you about the background of this study. As all we know that entrepreneurial is, in Indonesia we call it kewirausahaan. It's not only about selling something, it's not only about doing business, it's a mindset. You can find entrepreneurial definitions in websites or in you can find more than 100 definitions of kewirausahaan or entrepreneurial in all of our references. But what we are going to focus is the mindset, the way of thinking, of doing things a little bit differently, arranged from 7 areas which are going to tell you, we are going to share you about. So higher education need to adapt to the task of creating entrepreneurial mindset, to stimulate the creation of business and ideas in society to support strategic objectives. So for instance, if I'm a manager, I would like to have a talk, a chat with my subordinates of how things going on in their activities, not only in my room, in my comfort zone. So we need to do more progress, do more little bit progress in how we got things done. Also, the need to explore entrepreneurial and innovative potential in HEI. In this case, Universitas Negeri Semarang, and in this project we started from economics faculty. And according to OECD, the Organization from Entrepreneurial Economics and Cooperation Development, entrepreneurial and innovate are important for today's HEIs. So, being or becoming an entrepreneurial or innovative HEI is a response to these challenges. We have several challenges. The first is the new funding models, which is in our university we usually use the government funding, but also we have grants. Also, maybe in the future we will have philanthropy from the business people. And also we have to be focused on employability, entrepreneurship, and the student as consumer. The third is internationalization and globalization. New modes of engagement with stakeholders and local regional environment, pressure for measuring impacts, and I would like to emphasize this point, measuring impacts. And we have to admit that sometimes and maybe occasionally and also regularly we neglected this point, measuring impact. We're just doing things regularly, we're just doing things as usual. We sometimes just do not do the measuring impact. And also, the next challenges is contribution to economic growth and pressure on academic careers. The main questions is and aim, what is the current state of HEIs? What need to be done? And also we need to explore their entrepreneurial and innovative potential from several elements such as lecturers, professors, supervisors, students, administrative staffs, and also the business people around us. This methodology is the tool to simplify and to have a simple purpose of assisting HEIs identify their current situation and potential areas for action. And here are the methodology to assess faculty of economics, entrepreneurial, innovate potential, which we are going to move further to the university area or level. The HI Innovate tool is used. We have 7 dimensions or areas. Today it expanded to 8 dimensions, but in our study we use the previous one, which is 7 dimensions or areas. One is leadership and governance. Second is organizational capacity, which consists of funding, people, and incentives. And then entrepreneurial teaching, learning, preparing and supporting entrepreneurs, knowledge exchange and collaborations, the internationalized institution, and measuring impact. This is the picture of those 7 dimensions or areas. You can access it freely in the website of HI Innovate. Everyone is invited freely. You can play with it, you can read some information about these tools, and also we can do the assessment, so picture of how the participant can have or can do the scoring for the current state of our university or HEI. The first, I would like also, the first dimension which I'd like to tell you is the leadership and governance. There are 7 dimensions, but I would like only to talk about 2 dimensions because we have limited time. So the first is leadership and governance. Why this is so important? Because in our university or any other HEIs, leadership and governance is considering a very important areas. Strong leadership and good governance are crucial to developing an entrepreneurial innovative culture within an HEI. And we have to admit that many HEIs include the words enterprise and entrepreneurship in their mission statement, which is also embedded in our curricula, in our faculty. But in an entrepreneurial institution, sometimes this is more than a reference. We have to act more for these entrepreneurial things. We have several points that we are going to assess. The first one is our university or HEI make entrepreneurship is a major part of HEI strategy? The second is there any commitment at a high level to implementing the entrepreneurial agenda? And is there any model in place for coordinating and integrating entrepreneurial activities across the HEI? Does our university encourage and support faculties and units to act entrepreneurially? And is our HEI driving force for entrepreneurship and innovation in regional, social, and community development? That is the question that we need to answer, we need to score. The next is measuring impact. This is the 7th dimension or the 8th dimension. Sometimes we neglected this area. We have to admit that. Entrepreneurial or innovative higher education need to understand the impact of changes they bring about in their institution. The concept of an entrepreneurial or innovative HEI combines institutional self-perception, external reflection, and an evidence-based approach. However, impact measurement in HEIs remain underdeveloped. The current measurements typically focus on the quantity of spin-offs, or in this case, products, the volume and the quality of intellectual property generation and research income generation, rather than graduate entrepreneurship, teaching and learning outcomes, retaining talent and contribution to local economic development, or the impact of the broader entrepreneurial agenda. Yeah, this is the process. We are using the higher education innovative tools. We have participant, which consists of staff, faculty members, students, and administrative leader. You can add any other act, maybe cleaning service, maybe a specific employee, or any kind of job specification. It's up to you. The output, action plan and program priority, and the aim, as I mentioned previously, is the HEI strategic objective based on each dimension. This is the result from, it's in the form of spider web from leadership and governance. So we have 6 points, we have 6 scores, which is not or nil for not available until 5. So the participant is asked what their opinion about the current state of the institution. So we have green, blue, and black line here, which is the green one is the administrative leader, the black one is student, and the blue one is professor or teacher, in this case lecturer. If the score is 5 maybe, we don't need to do anything, or we just need to improve. If the score is maybe below 3 or 2, or worse is 1 or none, maybe we need to do something. We need to have some action plans. So starting from entrepreneurial is a major part of the HEI strategy. The student have score of 4. Administrative leader have score of 3.5, and the lecturer have point of 3. Maybe we need to do some action plan to close the gap between this score. We need to do some action here. So it's not only in our faculty, in economics faculty, but also in our institution. And in the future, we will have a physically growth hub in our university so that it can be a place or a venues for students, for businessmen or lecturer to meet, to have discussion of how things should be done, especially in business, especially in entrepreneurial area. So based on that, we can have several alternatives activities, such as provide the leaders with list of activities that already has entrepreneurial ideas, so that they can acknowledge, thank you, Pak Yan, can acknowledge and act. Expand and develop and customize the existing activities and policies. Provide more integrated scheme to implement entrepreneurship programs. These tools, HE Innovate, it's not to change the policy, it's to modify, it's to customize, doing things a little bit differently. The second is organizational capacity, funding people and incentive. You can see that the spider web a little bit varied from the previous areas, the leadership. This is the alternative action plan that we are going to do. Scheme forms for students in running their startup. So student is stimulated to develop their business from the very start, to develop their business plan so that they can prepare for the real world. And also identify existing student startup, find their challenges and create certain program, bring student staff and lecturer to industries or successful entrepreneurial platform. And 4, incentives for students in running their innovative ideas. We have measured the other areas, which I think we are not going to able to discuss all of this. Maybe we can discuss it in the Q&A session. Yeah, from the internationalized institution area, we can develop better internationalization by engaging more with more international partners, international business partner, other entrepreneurial universities in other countries, and especially in funding mechanism. And I must admit that funding mechanism is one of our biggest challenge. Measuring impact, we have to assess existing student startup, this based on this spider web, providing assessment for various activities that has connection with entrepreneurial HEIs. And the conclusion that we can have is there are several actions that can be implemented. It can be suited to our characteristic according to each dimension. It can be adjusted to certain characteristic for each AEI, and we have to become flexible. We have to be able to become a person with a little bit flexibility. And the last is we have to do some customizing, not making any changes to the current HEI's policy. I think that's it. Thank you for your all attention. God bless you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Prihandono. There are several keywords, that is leadership, governance, strategies, impact, action plan, program priority, organizational capacity, and internationalization. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the question and answer session. We will have 2 sessions, each with around 5 questions, if possible. You may ask questions, give comments, opinions, or something But before asking questions, please mention your names and affiliation and also direction of your questions. Okay, we'll start off with the audience in, one. Next question, one. Okay, right. One question. Okay, we will start off with the first questioner.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to address my questions to Dr. Paul Thomas. Professor Yan said that you learn languages informally. Is that right? You learn some languages informally, right? I'd like to hear from you about your experience because I did almost the same way probably. I learned from radio when I was still young, long time ago, from the BBC English teaching program, from Radio Australia, from Voice of America. And what I did is that listen and listen and listen, and eventually I could speak after, let's say, doing this for about 3 years without a single day absent. So I'd like to hear from you about that. And I don't think I need to speak English now because you teach Indonesian, right? And I think more people will get benefit when you speak Indonesian rather than English. Is it all right for me to ask you in Bahasa? All right.
Say, would you please directly answer?
All right, so...
Testing? Yeah, okay, right. So I've been invited to reply dalam bahasa Indonesia. Jadi saya akan berusaha untuk jawab dalam bahasa Indonesia. Pertanyaan cukup menarik. Jadi perbedaan antara bahasa untuk belajar bahasa secara formal dan yang tak formal. Memang saya sudah coba belajar bahasa Belanda secara tak formal. Masalahnya saya tidak kenal begitu banyak orang Belanda dan kebetulan itu kurang efisien. Kalau kita lihat cara belajar bahasa asing, itu seharusnya sesuatu yang berkaitan dengan aktivitas sosial. Jadi komunikasi itu antara orang, itu sesuatu yang intinya ada ciri-ciri manusia ya. Kalau kita coba belajar dari mesin, dari peralatan, saya kira biasanya tidak sebagus kalau kita ada kesempatan dengan struktur untuk menggunakan bahasa tujuannya dengan orang lain. Jadi kalau saya membandingkan pengalaman saya dengan belajar bahasa asing secara formal itu jauh lebih efisien karena juga guru saya cukup bagus. Dia juga ada pengalaman di ruang kelas dan cara dia mengajar juga cukup menarik. Tetapi kedua-duanya akan gagal kalau tidak ada kesempatan untuk masuk ke budayaan itu. Kalau hanya kata, kalau hanya istilahnya, pasti kalah. Jadi kita harus ada kesempatan untuk mengalami kebudayaan itu. Karena ini bukan persoalan linguistik, tapi linguistik murni, tetapi ini persoalan kebudayaan. Terima kasih.
Oke, saya akan bertanya tentang topik yang Dr. Paul sampaikan tadi. Saya ingin mendapatkan penjelasan ringkas saja mengenai apa itu soft power, karena saya tidak bisa mengikuti dengan baik tadi, dan hubungannya dengan pilihan kebudayaan di dalam proses pembelajaran mungkin di Indonesia, yakni pembelajaran bahasa Inggris sebagai bahasa asing, begitu.
Maaf, bisa diulangi lagi?
Ya, saya ingin mendapatkan penjelasan ringkas tentang hubungan antara soft power dengan pilihan budaya dalam proses pembelajaran bahasa Inggris sebagai bahasa asing di Indonesia. Mungkin agak sama karena bahasa Indonesia juga sebagai bahasa asing di Australia. Dan mungkin saya juga ingin agar mendapatkan penjelasannya lebih jelas tentang apa itu sebenarnya soft power. Karena ini sesuatu yang baru buat saya. Terima kasih.
Oke, saya akan coba lagi, mudah-mudahan jelas. Kalau kita lihat apa istilah soft power atau kekuasaan lunak, kebetulan istilahnya agak janggal. Karena itu juga salah satu alasan saya menerjemahkan sebagai kekuasaan lunak. Karena dengan teman saya, teman Indonesia saya, mereka bilang, oh istilah itu jarang digunakan atau juga janggal. Dan saya bilang, itu memang perasaannya sama dalam bahasa Inggris. Karena bagaimana ada kekuasaan yang lunak, biasanya asosiasinya dengan sesuatu yang kuat. Dan di dalam bahasa Inggris, istilahnya bisa disebut oksimoron. Oksimoron sesuatu yang tidak pas. Jadi, kalau kita ada produk budaya yang ada peranan cukup penting dalam belajar bahasa asing. Kalau kita tidak ada kesempatan untuk menonton filmnya, mendengarkan radio, siaran radio dalam bahasa tujuannya, ada perasaan seperti terpencil dari kebudayaan itu. Dan kalau ada, walaupun itu bisa muncul secara wajar, misalnya pemerintah atau universitas tidak membantu perusahaan yang mengeluarkan iklan tadi dengan ketut dan ronda, itu jadi secara wajar. Tetapi pemerintah Indonesia juga universitas memanfaatkan situasinya. Jadi untuk kekuasaan lunak itu bukan hanya diprakarsai oleh pemerintah atau oleh universitasnya secara formal, tetapi seharusnya muncul secara wajar, secara natural ya. Dan kalau itu jadi, itu seperti mendukung, menciptakan suasana kondusif untuk memperoleh bahasa asing.
Terima kasih banyak.
Okay, thank you. Maybe you still have some other questions. You may ask questions in Bahasa rather than in English. Okay, from the back seats. No? Okay, yeah, right.
Okay.
Mention your name. Yeah, mention your name.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks on the opportunity. My name is Nurul Hayudayati from Guidance and Counseling Study Program. Now I would like to give one question to Mr. Paul Thomas. Okay, how about you? How to provide teaching to children based on Australian culture? Thank you.
If we talk about Australian children, Indonesian children, it's a little bit similar, I think, to Australian children. If they're like in primary schools, sekolah dasar, often it's much easier to approach them. There was originally an idea that students would only be able to study foreign languages once they made it to secondary school in Australia. But once they're in secondary school, that idea of the familiar is often very, very strong. Being different is not something that a teenager wants to be. So in Indonesian schools, as in Australian schools, I think if we started in sekolah dasar, the primary school, we have an opportunity to make something familiar to them at a very early age. And what's familiar for them is food, it's clothing, and it's something which is very kinetic. So kinetic learning, I think, is very, very important at that early age, but it is also even into secondary schools. If they're going to be resistant, I think getting people to stand up and do things and learn through that action process has been, a lot more successful, a lot easier. With secondary students in Indonesia, if they were to learn about Australian culture, there's got to be a connection there. And music is often one of the best things that connect. It's something they do every day. Clothing is another one of the best things. The Indonesian government has declared that the culinary arts is going to be an important manner through which they project their own soft power. So cooking is going to be a sort of part of cultural diplomacy. This has been talked about over the last 2 years. The other thing is to hopefully now with internet speeds a little bit better, connecting to schools. Jadi kalau kita ada hubungan internet cukup bagus, kalau bisa berkomunikasi lewat Facebook, lewat Skype, ada manfaat besar karena bahasanya bukan sesuatu abstrak lagi. Mereka ada tujuan komunikasi. Mereka tidak mau belajar bahasa asing. Di Australia mereka tidak mau belajar bahasa asing. Itu sangat membosankan. Tapi mereka mau berkomunikasi. Itu yang jauh lebih menarik. Mereka mau menyanyi. Tapi untuk belajar bahasa asing, itu tidak sesuatu yang begitu menghibur. Terima kasih.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, one more question. Okay, from my right.
Hello, my name is Susilawati. I'm from Guardian and Counseling, and I want to ask with Mr. Thomas. Actually, today I'm so nice to meet you because you came to speak in Indonesia and you wearing batik and so nice to me. And I have a question. Actually, culture is important and culture so identity for someone and culture so nice to me actually. But right now, in modern modern right now, many people to change life like a modern person, and that is traditional culture is homemade to me to always remember with my traditional culture actually, and how to me or we are friends too can have open mindset because speaking English is so important, and learning culture from another country is so important because actually not people in here, not all people in here can speak in English. How to we are to open mindset to practice English, to practice culture in another country and language in another country. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Open the mindset.
Well, look, if I take the first bit of your question, which is really good, this idea that you appreciate but also know about your own culture. You need that firm base in order to move out and explore new cultures. What I find in Australia is that there are many people who don't know about Australian culture. Mereka kebetulan tidak belajar, mereka tidak suka membaca sastra Australia, tidak tahu begitu banyak tentang sejarah Australia. Kemudian mereka berusaha untuk belajar kebudayaan baru. Nah, itu bisa menimbulkan banyak kesulitan. Jadi kita semua harus mulai dengan kebudayaan sendiri sebelum kita mau menjelajahi kebudayaan baru. Walaupun begitu, kita juga harus berani, ya. Kita harus berani untuk melepaskan kebudayaan sendiri supaya mengalami kebudayaan baru. Dan khususnya di sekolah atau untuk orang yang berumur 18, 19, mereka baru mulai menyadari tentang diri sendiri, tentang kebudayaan sendiri. Kemudian kalau didorong untuk belajar sesuatu yang baru, itu memang tantangan yang cukup besar. Misalnya untuk menyesuaikan suara saya untuk berbicara bahasa Indonesia saat ini sedikit aneh karena memang saya merasa seperti pemain teater, harus ganti kepribadian sedikit, harus disesuaikan dengan Indonesia. Mudah-mudahan saya berhasil, saya kurang tahu, itu terserah kalian yang di sini. Saya minta maaf kalau ada masih ada kelemahan dalam bahasa saya. Tapi kita harus berani untuk mengambil langkah ke dunia yang kurang jelas. Jadi saya harap semua di sini siap untuk berani, siap untuk meminggirkan yang sudah diketahui untuk sesuatu yang belum diketahui. Terima kasih.
Thank you. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the end of our session now. Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Thank you, Dr. Priyandono. Ladies and gentlemen, now please give your warm applause to the two speakers. Thank you. Right. Okay, I give the time back to, yeah. Okay, reporter.
Yes, thank you very much. So thank you for moderator and all keynote speakers. Please give you a warm applause for the three of our distinguished keynote speakers and also moderator. Thank you very much. So please remain on stage because we would like to give our token of appreciations as for your contributions for our conference. We would like to welcome Professor Toto Sumaryanto to present the token of appreciations for both the keynote speakers. The first token of appreciation is given to Dr. Paul Thomas from Monash University, Australia. And the second one is for Dorojatun Priyandono, PhD from And the second one is for Dr. Dorojatun Prihandono, PhD, from Universitas Negeri Semarang. Thank you for moderator and keynote speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, to mark the insightful occasions today, we would like to invite the keynote speakers for MOM signing. The MOM covers the agreement upon today's conference. For the MOM signing, would like to invite on the stage Professor Dr. Toto Sumarianto, Professor Fahrul Zaman Huyop from UTM Johor Bahru, Malaysia, Dr. Kutilda Nutgultam from the Kasasal University, Thailand, and Dr. Paul Thomas from Monash University, Australia. Thank you very much. We hope a better collaborations can be made after these occasions. Thank you very much, and give applause for all keynote speakers and also the Graduate School of UNES. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to closing, and we believe that opportunities should be made and changes should be pursued. By the completions of this program, we all hope that you all have gained insightful and enlightening experience. Enjoy your day and see you next time. Goodbye.
Chicks. Ya, baiklah, kita akhiri untuk sesi panel. Untuk waktu ini kita akan istirahat ya untuk break sebelum sesi paralel. Ya. Kami akan umumkan untuk ruang paralel berada di gedung Pasca Sarjana UNES, gedung C, lantai 1 dan 2. Kami umumkan sekali lagi bagi para presenter yang akan menyampaikan paparannya dalam sesi paralel, kami umumkan untuk ruangan sesi paralel ada di gedung Pasca Sarjana UNES, gedung C, lantai 1 dan lantai 2.
Kami mohon juga bagi peserta untuk menuliskan nomor pendaftaran pada kartu pengambilan sertifikat, supaya pengambilan sertifikat dapat lebih cepat dan terorganisir.
Bagi para presenter yang belum memberikan soft file kepada panitia, ya, presenter parallel session yang belum memberikan soft file kepada panitia, kami mohon untuk segera memberikan soft filenya kepada panitia yang ada di bagian belakang ruangan ini. Terima kasih.
Seluruh presentasi yang kami berikan pada saat conference dapat dilihat di YouTube channel Pasca Sarjana UNES. Dapat dilihat secara live maupun siaran tundanya dapat dilihat di YouTube channel Pasca Sarjana UNES.
Boleh kami persilakan Bapak Ibu hadirin para peserta untuk dapat menikmati makan siang dan istirahat. Kami mohon untuk konsumsi dapat diambil di bagian depan ruangan ini, di depan hall ini dengan menunjukkan kupon konsumsi yang ada di belakang co-card. Terima kasih.
Kami sampaikan terima kasih atas perhatiannya selama sesi plenary sessions dan kami harap agar dapat segera menuju ke Pasca Sarjana UNES Gedung C lantai 1 dan 2 untuk sesi paralel. Terima kasih, selamat siang. Bagi para peserta seminar, sebagai partisipan, sertifikat sudah dapat diambil di hall registrasi.
Sing tak jaluk amung kesabaran, mugi Allah paring kasempatan. Kadang hatiku ben aku ramayu, dan tanggung jawabmu itu palsu. Kalau aku cinta beneran, pastikan ku
berfoto di stage lebih ada backgroundnya lebih cantik. Silahkan.
melamar di kau sayang. Cintamu sudah gak beneran, aku cuma buat mainan. Tukang mas jani aku tresno, gelap no aku
Sertifikat yang dibagikan hanya untuk peserta, untuk presenter belum dibagikan. Pengumuman telah diketemukan sebuah perhiasan bagi yang merasa kehilangan untuk menghubungi sumber suara.
Kelihatan?
Resto iki tutu montolanan, kabeh mau amarga kanan. Sing kajaluk amung kesabaran, mugi Allah paring kasempatan. Kalau aku cinta beneran, pastikan ku buktikan. Bapak ibuku akan datang melamar di kau sayang. Hatiku selalu mendoakan, semoga Tuhan mengabulkan. Cinta kita tak terpisahkan sampai di akhir zaman. Cinta kita tak terpisahkan sampai di akhir zaman. Rampakku, cukur kunco Kosokan watu ning kali nyemplung ning gedung jaman dhisik durung usum sabun andukku mung cukup anduk sarung dolananku motor cilik saka Lampung wis holo wis kuntul baris rekasane saiki wis holo wis kuntul baris kere-kere kek mok dangu wis jinglang bulane bundel aku tikutan soean gede dadi dokter tanggal 15 padang jinglang bulane bundel bareng wis gede aku disuntik ku dokter sawolo iki cerita jaman semono cocoyono kokotono iki cerita saka wong tuwa kosokan watu ning kali nyemplung ning gedung jaman dhisik durung usum sabun